So the University of Idaho president hasn't even bothered contacting the families, not even to give condolences, not even in the beginning? What? Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer.
Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only, and just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged.
I want to say very, very, very much thank you very much to Anita for letting me know that the Goncalveses and their attorney, Shannon Gray, did an interview on, well, the interview room last night. And there was some interesting information that came out from it. Nothing like case related, literally at all. It's more like stuff that's going on with the university itself. Now, from what I'm understanding, the interview room's little team of people have gone in and really deep dived into what's been going on with the money that the University of Idaho got for this whole situation. And it's interesting to say the least. Like, I already knew that it was a lot of bullshit, that they had spent like $600,000 on some sort of like consultation for the situation. But I didn't know until this interview that whatever was found in that consultation, like none of those results or anything that was done for that 600,000 freaking dollars is being reported or released or shared. So that's super freaking sketchy. And then on top of that, one of the other things mentioned is that only $3,700 of the $1 million that was delegated to the university for like emergency funds, only $3,700 was spent on counseling other students that needed counseling from being like close to the victims or whatever. So $3,700 worth of counseling, and they felt the need to destroy 1122 King Road because the community needed to heal. Well, your therapy bill would say otherwise. Now, again, this is stuff that I'm hearing on the interview room, and there will be a link in my description box for the full on interview. It's a good like hour and 45 minutes long. Shannon Gray pops up around the middle. But again, guys, don't go into this interview expecting to get like any case details or any like, no new revelations into the actual case itself. Okay. This is literally the university, like I was talking about, and really sort of more clarification on what happened with the Goncalves family and the Goncalves family only the day that they found out about the murders. Okay. So we've known for a really long time now that there was a niece that called the Goncalveses hours before the cops ever showed up knocking at their door. Now, we don't know the exact time. We really don't know the exact time of this. And there's been a lot of back and forth. Some are claiming around like 10 something in the morning. Some are claiming that it was after, the noontime, around noontime of the 911 call. Honestly, we don't know, but we really don't have any information. All I know is that we've been trying to figure out exactly when this niece apparently called and told them that there was some sort of party situation went wrong and Kaylee and Maddie was shot. Because that was the original phone call that the Goncalveses got, with that there was a pew-pew situation, okay? Well, in this interview with the interview room, something else that gets discussed is the fact that before they knew about like it being an actual homicide, the rumor, besides it being like a party where, somebody went in there with a gun and went stupid, the secondary rumor was that it was a huge fent OD. Okay. So these things that have been kind of going on and fueling conspiracies this entire time really seem to be things that were sort of going around through the whole like grapevine game of telephone thing with the locals as it was happening, because people didn't know what went on. Now, according to what they claimed, according to what the Goncalveses are claiming, and this is new information, I think, at least when it comes to like the specifics of this, okay? We know that there was a lot of people contacting Kaylee's little sisters, right? Which I didn't agree with because they're minors, just like I don't agree with the fact that I think it was Mabbit even like contacted one of Kaylee's little sisters or told some very very detailed, not okay information to one of the minor sisters, okay? It just doesn't seem like these families are taken care of or considered, like, at all when it comes to any of this. I mean, they're going so far as to contacting minor children or talking to minors about this stuff, you know, both neighbors and acquaintances trying to, like, find out what's happening and relay information all the way to law enforcement. You know, it's all kind of like there's no consideration there anywhere. But in this interview, we find out that it was a neighbor in the area that actually contacted one of Kaylee's little sisters about 10 minutes before the cops actually came and knocked on the Goncalves' door. And it wasn't anyone from Latah County, it was someone from their very own county. So whoever it was must have like met up with the people that were investigating what happened at King Road, because the way that this is spoken is that it was their local law enforcement, but that the card that was handed to them was for the detective working the case over in Moscow. So to me, that means they had to have like met up in person, or why would he just like randomly have this guy's card, right? So yeah, 10 minutes before the cops actually show up to let them know what's going on is whenever Kaylee's little sister got a phone call or some sort of communication from somebody claiming to be a neighbor. It was a female, a girl claiming to be a neighbor, and that's whenever they had verification that something specifically did happen to Maddie and Kaylee. Now, apparently, whenever the cop was there, the Goncalves asked him, "Hey, we're hearing a shooting. We're hearing a fent OD. What's going on?" And that's whenever the cop was like, "No, it's nothing like that. This is a quadruple homicide." So it wasn't until the cop showed up that they knew exactly what had happened when it came to who and really like means, I guess. But they didn't know that it had anything to do with like knife wounds until after the autopsy, I guess. They mentioned something about how they really didn't know about how they were killed until Steve walked back in the door that day. And I'm going to assume that means, you know, from the autopsy, because the Goncalveses were really, really vocal about the types of wounds and in describing them and their differences from the very beginning. And that's kind of what fueled, I think, their real anger for this, is that they weren't seeing in the results that they were getting from the girls' autopsies and lab results and descriptions of wounds and everything they were getting from the police, they weren't seeing what the cops were seeing. Now, while it doesn't help us figure out anything about the case itself, it is kind of good to get these little bit of details because it sort of helps us get a better view about everything that was going on and how chaotic everything actually was. And, you know, another good point that was made in the interview room was, you know, this was like one of the most high profile cases ever, and they handed it to somebody that had no experience in anything like this. And that was like not a good move. And you can really tell by how like unorganized everything was from the very beginning that they really didn't know what they were doing. So I guess really, and I'll be fair here, okay, a lot of all of the bullshittery that we're seeing really might have something to do with inexperience. Like, I know a lot of people want to see a lot of shady stuff, and I'm not going to sit here and say that there's no shady shit happening, because there's some shady shit happening, okay? But not every little bitty thing is going to be like a shady thing. And I really do feel like they just really didn't know what the hell they were doing. They had no idea what they were having to deal with. They had no idea what they got themselves into. They had no idea how to handle this, which is why everything got so screwed up from the beginning, and is honestly probably the reason for the gag order, really, because they screwed up so much and they know it. I really think that's what it is. I think they legitimately made mistakes, a crap ton of mistakes, and that the gag order, in all honesty, is to like sort of hide all of those, because just like Steve says, what court case wants to hide all the facts? If you've got the right guy, then just show us the details. Tell us what's going on. How many other high profile cases out there don't have gag orders and let all the details out there to let the public know, hey man, we got our guy. You don't have to worry, we got him. That's not happening here. Now, when it does come to the gag order, there was some things in here that is confusing to me, because the host of the interview room keeps talking about how they don't want to violate the gag order. They want to make sure that the family stays within the gag order, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but the families are not under the gag order. And this is said like twice, maybe like 3 times. And then Shannon Gray gets on and he's like, that's why they put me under the gag order, because I'm the one representing the families. The families can talk, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's what I thought. So stuff like this about the gag order, the back and forth with the gag order, that's why so many people also have a whole lot of problems whenever certain things get done or certain things get spoke about, because they think that the families are under the gag order, and it being represented this way in this interview, from people that are supposed to like know what they're doing, for this to be reiterated incorrectly twice, at least twice, about the family being under a gag order doesn't do that chaos any good. So I was glad whenever Shannon Gray came in and he was like, that's why I'm under the gag order, not the families. The families can say whatever they want to, because that's how we've known about that, like, for a long time. Which is why, again, backtracking a little, why I never understood why there was so much time spent on the gag order whenever the families can say whatever they want to, and it's just Shannon Gray that can't talk. I felt like that was like a useless fight, but whatever. And the Goncalveses are still very upset about the house. And it makes a lot of sense whenever they start talking about all of the stuff with the University of Idaho. It seems like when it comes to the, how do I put it? I guess the way that the university pretty much just like stepped in and did stuff. I'm really glad to see that the Goncalveses are asking the same sorts of questions that we out here are. I never understood why the University of Idaho took like front and center attention when it came to what was going on here. And just like I've said before, when it came to the freaking house being taken down, that was given to them after the fact. This is not an on-campus house. This is not like on-campus frat unit. Okay, this is off campus housing, not associated with the school, not a sorority house, not a fraternity house. These girls signed leases and paid rent. So I didn't understand why the university took such like a grasp on this whole thing from the beginning. It was just really, really strange. And then something else I found interesting is that the interview room is talking about how they spoke to like some politicians about Idaho, the university, the murders, Scott Green. Okay. And whenever it was mentioned that Scott Green wrote a book about the murders and about like what happened, apparently this politician was not happy. So something might actually happen, because this person is now finding out about it and is like, huh? He did what? He wrote what now? And yeah, that's sort of like the same way that I felt about it. I feel like that about all of these like books. And again, that might just be like the generation that I am. To me, a backbound book is a closed and finished story. Okay. So you can write your articles, you can do your little docu-series of trying to figure out what's going on. But to me, a book means that the story is finished and now it's time for it to be told. And for these books to be coming out about the murders and we haven't even gotten a trial date set, I don't like it. I know there's a lot of people that are okay with it. I'm not okay with it for my own reasons. I don't know. I don't like it. But the fact that Scott Green wrote a book and is taking control of basically this entire situation and was front and center and talking at press conferences and everything, this was off campus. This had nothing to do with the actual university itself whatsoever. And now he's out here wasting money that should be going to the families and should be going to, other things other than some garden. Let's talk about the garden. So the information that we got from this interview room thing about the garden is interesting too, because apparently the whole reason for the house demolition was for the community to heal, which, now we're finding out there wasn't really too much healing that needed to be done. They wanted to get rid of the distraction, which again made no sense because this had nothing to do with the campus. This was a neighborhood that had nothing to do with the university, that also had people in it that didn't even go to the school, that literally had jobs and children and actual adult lives. So again, it was strange as shit from the beginning that the university got so involved. And again, I'm glad that the Goncalveses are hip to the bullshit, because there's something going on there. But when it comes to this whole like memorial garden thing that was supposed to be for the Idaho 4 victims, right? Like Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, what's being told is distressing and a little bit disturbing, and very much telling to the way that the university does shady, slimy things, right? So originally, like we've all been told from the very freaking beginning, there was going to be some sort of memorial garden put on the campus. They removed a so-say distraction from off campus to then want to build an actual distraction on campus, which makes no sense at all, right? Well, apparently there was some like fundraising done while it was still supposed to be about the Idaho 4. And then all of a sudden it's for like all of the students that have lost their lives. And there's nothing special when it comes to Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan when it comes to the memorial itself to like specify them. Basically, money was raised under the pretense of it being about the 4 victims, but in the end it turned out to be about like everyone, and anything that's supposed to have been special about the Idaho 4 has been removed from it. Like, they used the popularity of the case to raise money for this, but then slipped the importance of those 4 people away from it, if that makes any sense. Now, Steve makes a very bold statement, and he straight up says Ann Taylor is inefficient counsel. They're talking about how they want to keep pushing stuff back. They're complaining about how she's whining about 2 weeks. Okay, and I understand 2 weeks really isn't that big of a deal. It really isn't. People can be mad at me for that all they want to. I don't care. 2 weeks and crying and whining like a big old baby about needing your 2 weeks back when we're seriously in the middle of like the most high profile case of this like decade. You can suck it up, buttercup, on your little 2 weeks, in my opinion. But the Goncalveses have the same sort of like issue with that, how it just sounds like it's nitpicky babyish bullshit, and it is. It is. So I wouldn't go so far as to saying that she was inefficient counsel, but Steve definitely is like, she's a crap lawyer, is basically what he's claiming. And it really is just because he's not happy with what she's doing. And as the father of a victim, I understand that. I understand that completely. But that's really bold. So just come out and straight up be like, inefficient counsel. Like, damn, bro. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for the notes I took from that interview. Again, it was really more of like the shadiness of the University of Idaho, which I do want to get into more. I'm going to go back and listen to the rest of the interview rooms videos when it comes to like where the money is and see what else I can kind of like gather pinpoint wise. Now, I don't have the time to go in and look up documents, do all this stuff myself. Okay. I have a full-time job that takes precedent over this kind of stuff. That's why there's channels like the interview room and other people that can go in there and decipher all this stuff and really get to like the nitty gritty. But there has to be something that can be done about all of this, right? Because I'm looking over my notes now, and the university got $1 million for something that didn't even happen on their campus, that didn't really seem to greatly affect their students because they spent less than $4,000 out of that entire, million on therapy counseling for people that were distressed. And then they raised over $800,000 for a memorial garden under the Idaho victims' names for it to just not be specifically for them, for it to be, for like everyone, which I understand. It's not a bad thing to want to put some sort of memorial thing out for like all of the students who passed away. But the money wasn't raised for that. It was raised under the pretense of it being about the Idaho 4 victims. Because I can promise you this, okay? And this is sad, but this is true. If they would have done a regular old fundraiser, just claiming that they wanted to do a memorial for like all of the students of U of I that have ever lost their lives, they wouldn't have gotten anywhere near 800K. I promise you that. So it's shady. And then Scott Green writing a book and doing all these things and being at all the press conferences, taking like the spotlight pretty much everywhere, and he's never even contacted the families. I mean, I don't know about the Chapins, I don't know about the Kernodles, and I don't know about the Mogens. For all I know, he probably did contact the Chapins, because the Chapins do things completely 180 to the way that the Goncalveses do. So it's a possibility. I don't know. But when it comes to the Goncalveses, the fact that he never even in the very beginning called to just be like, I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, you want to like literally make the university front and center of this entire tragedy for your own ill-gotten gain, but you can't even contact the families and tell them that you feel sorry for what they're going through. That is so shitty. Like, I can't even. That's probably like the most shocking thing I've heard in this case over the past few months. That's probably the most shocking thing. As small as it seems, that's shocking to me. It's pathetic, is really what it is. Scott Green, shame on you, bro. But I think that's probably it for that interview, the notes that I took anyway. If you guys watched it and I missed anything, please do not hesitate to leave it in the comments so that I can add it to my little notepad right here. But that's pretty much it. I'm disappointed. More disappointed in the university now than I was before. But yeah, I'm disappointed. Just crazy. This case is insane. And I just want to get to trial so we can get to the evidence. Show us what matters. Show us the actual like evidence of the whodunit already. All right. That's it, you guys. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. See y'all.